The hold stays, the regional airline manager said, his voice flat, dismissive, and devoid of warmth. The soldier's remains can travel in cargo without an escort. You don't have first-class clearance, so step back. 32-year-old Marcus Reed didn't raise his voice. Standing at the departure gate of the regional airport on a rain-slicked afternoon, Marcus wore a neatly ironed suit with a small, faded military pin on his lapel. In his right hand, his thumb gently traced the raised edges of a scratched brass challenge coin, a sacred military token given only to those who escort fallen brothers home. Beside the glass terminal windows, travelers watched in uneasy silence as the gate manager, a man named Henderson, crossed his arms. Marcus was a decorated Black Army veteran who had spent 7 days navigating bureaucracy to accompany his fallen squad mate, Specialist Daniel Vance, back to his grieving family in rural Georgia. Military protocol explicitly stated that a fallen soldier must never be left unescorted during transport. "I am under direct orders to stay with the casket until handoff," Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying the calm weight of absolute conviction. "The flight is half empty. My travel orders are clear." Henderson smirked, tapping his clipboard. "Your orders don't mean anything to my airline, sir. Security, clear this man away from the gate. The flight leaves in 10 minutes. Marcus slowly closed his hand around the brass coin. He didn't fight the security guards as they stepped forward, nor did he yell. He simply turned his head toward the tarmac, watching the rain streak down the thick glass. Henderson thought he was forcing a powerless black man to yield. He had no idea that the small brass coin in Marcus's hand had just activated a defense protocol that would bring air traffic across 3 states to a complete standstill. To understand Marcus Reed, you must understand the unbreakable bond forged in the crucible of military service, a bond that transcends race, rank, and geography. 3 years earlier, in the dust and heat of a foreign deployment, Marcus served as a squad leader in an elite medical evacuation unit. During a chaotic night operation, his squad was ambushed. Specialist Daniel Vance, a young soldier from rural Georgia, threw himself across Marcus to shield him from shrapnel. Daniel saved Marcus's life that night, taking injuries that would eventually prove fatal years later. Before Daniel passed away in a military hospital, Marcus took a solemn oath at his bedside. "I will carry you home, brother, every step of the way." When Marcus arrived at the regional airport, he brought with him the sacred duty of honor, sacrifice, and dignity. But to Henderson, Marcus was just an inconvenient passenger who didn't fit the airline's profile of an important traveler. In Henderson's mind, a black veteran standing quietly in a commercial terminal could be pushed around without consequence. What Henderson failed to realize was that Marcus was not alone. The brass coin in Marcus's hand belonged to the Special Operations Joint Command, a network of commanders who regard the escort of a fallen warrior as a sacred duty that no corporate policy is permitted to violate. At precisely 4:15 in the afternoon, the main operations display above the gate flashed bright red. Henderson frowned, stepping over to the computer terminal as the emergency radar alarms began to chime. "What is going on with air traffic control?" he muttered, frantically typing on his keyboard. "Every flight on the Eastern Corridor just got grounded." Suddenly, the floor beneath their feet began to vibrate. The coffee cups on the boarding desk rattled. The sound wasn't the high-pitched whine of commercial jet engines. It was the deep, rhythmic, earth-shaking thrum of heavy military rotors slicing through the overcast sky. Outside the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, the storm clouds parted. Passengers gasped, rushing toward the glass as 10 massive black military helicopters descended in precise tactical formation through the rain. The formation included double-rotor CH-47 Chinooks and heavily armed escort aircraft, their flashing navigation lights cutting through the gray mist. The sheer air displacement from the low-flying armada shook the glass terminal walls. Air traffic control instantly halted all commercial departures. The entire airport had been placed under emergency military airspace control. Henderson's face turned deathly pale. His hands trembled as the gate phone rang frantically. On the line was the Federal Aviation Administration's regional director, shouting so loudly that Marcus could hear the voice from 3 feet away. "Henderson, what in God's name did you just do at Gate 4? The 10 military helicopters touched down simultaneously on the active runway, blocking the commercial aircraft from moving an inch. The side doors of the lead aircraft opened, and a 3-star Army general stepped out into the pouring rain, accompanied by a full honor guard in dress uniforms. Behind them walked the regional director of airport operations, looking terrified. The terminal doors clicked open, and the general marched directly into Gate 4, his polished boots echoing through the hushed building. Hundreds of passengers stood frozen in awe as the 3-star officer walked right past Henderson without offering a glance. The general stopped 2 feet in front of Marcus Reed, brought his right hand up to his brow, and held a crisp, formal military salute. "Sergeant Reed," the general said, his voice booming clearly through the silent terminal. "Joint Command received your beacon alert. We are here to ensure Specialist Vance receives his full military escort home." Henderson stood behind his desk, his jaw dropped, unable to speak. The security guards who had touched Marcus's arm immediately backed away, standing at rigid attention. The general finally turned his cold, hard gaze toward Henderson. "Who authorized the disruption of an official fallen soldier escort protocol?" Henderson stammered, taking a shaking step backward. "Sir, I was just following company policy regarding seat assignments." "You violated federal military transport protocol," the general interrupted, his tone sharp enough to cut glass. "Effective immediately, this airline's regional charter license is suspended pending a federal investigation, and you are relieved of authority on this airfield." The true triumph of that rainy afternoon was not in the manager's sudden disgrace or the overwhelming military force on the runway. It was in the quiet, unyielding dignity of Marcus Reed. As the honor guard moved down to the cargo bay to gently transfer Specialist Daniel Vance's flag-draped casket into the lead helicopter, the entire terminal watched in absolute reverence. Travelers, pilot crews, and airport staff lined the windows, removing their hats and standing in silent honor. Marcus didn't boast, nor did he look back at the manager who had tried to humiliate him. He adjusted his jacket, held his head high, and walked out onto the rain-swept tarmac alongside the general. He stepped into the lead helicopter, taking his seat directly beside his squad mate's casket. As the rotors roared to life and the 10 aircraft lifted smoothly into the stormy skies, Marcus placed his hand on the flag-draped wood. He had kept his promise. He had walked into the terminal as a dismissed outcast, but he departed as the guardian of a sacred legacy, proving to the world that true honor is never defined by a corporate ticket, but by the quiet strength of a soldier who refuses to leave a brother behind.